Imagine a world highly globalized, interconnected by trade, diplomacy, and complex economies. Great powers dominate the landscape, their cities filled with gold, their armies equipped with the highest technology of the age. Then, in a single human lifespan, it all burns to the ground. This isn't science fiction. This happened 3,000 years ago, around 1200 BC. The great civilizations of the Eastern Mediterranean, the Egyptians, the Hittites, the Mycenaean Greeks, and the Babylonians, formed an intricate international network. And then, suddenly, the network failed. Palaces were razed, trade routes vanished, writing systems were forgotten, entire empires dissolved into myth. This event is known as the Late Bronze Age collapse, perhaps the greatest catastrophe in human history. For decades, historians blamed shadowy invaders from the sea, but the truth is far more complex and far more terrifying. How does a civilization that took centuries to build unravel in a single generation? To understand the collapse, we must first understand what was lost. The Late Bronze Age was a period of unprecedented stability. The superpowers of the region had a brotherhood of kings. We know this from the Amarna letters, clay tablets exchanged between pharaohs and emperors arranging royal marriages and demanding gifts of gold. The economy was dependent on bronze, an alloy of copper and tin. Copper was abundant in Cyprus, but tin had to be sourced from faraway Afghanistan. This meant that to create weapons and tools, you needed international trade. Mycenaean pottery from Greece is found in Egypt. Egyptian scarabs are found in northern Europe. It was a delicate, highly specialized supply chain. If one domino fell, the entire system was at risk. For centuries, it worked. The wealth was staggering. But this interdependence created a fatal fragility. The system was efficient, but it was not resilient. When we look at the archaeological record around 1177 BC, we don't see a single smoking gun. We see a firing squad. The first shot was likely environmental. The ancient climate was shifting. Recent studies of pollen cores from ancient lake beds in the region indicate a massive centuries-long mega-drought beginning right around this time. In an agricultural society, drought doesn't just mean less food, it means economic collapse. The Hittite Empire in Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, was particularly hard hit. Records show them begging Egypt for grain shipments just to survive. Simultaneously, the region was struck by a phenomenon known as an earthquake storm. A series of massive seismic events leveled cities from Greece to the Levant over a 50-year period. Imagine a society already starving due to drought, and then their walls and temples come crashing down. The legitimacy of the kings, who claimed to speak for the gods, began to crumble. Hungry, frightened populations don't stay put. They migrate, and they rebel. It is into this chaos that the most famous characters of the collapse arrive, the Sea Peoples. Egyptian pharaoh Ramses III left enormous relief carvings on his funerary temple, depicting a massive naval battle against a mysterious confederation of invaders he called the Denian, Peliset, and Shekelesh. He claimed they had already destroyed the Hittites and were coming for Egypt. For a long time, historians viewed the Sea Peoples as like Bronze Age Vikings, raiders who murdered civilization. But a more unbiased look suggests something different. The Egyptian carvings show these invaders arriving not just with warriors, but with ox carts carrying women and children. They weren't just a raiding party, they were a migration. It is highly probable that the Sea Peoples were themselves victims of the drought and chaos further north. They were a desperate confederation of refugees, displaced warriors, and pirates trying to carve out a new home in a dying world. They were likely both a symptom of the collapse and an accelerant. They were the final shove that toppled empires already weakened by famine and internal strife. By 1130 BC, the dust had settled on a different world. The Hittite Empire vanished. The glorious Mycenaean palaces of Greece were ruins, and Greece entered a centuries-long dark age where even the ability to write was lost. Only Egypt survived, though severely weakened, never to regain its former glory. The collapse was a systems failure. It was climate change, exacerbating economic fragility, leading to migration, warfare, and internal rebellion. It was a hard reset for humanity, but from the ashes, new things grew. The scarcity of tin forced blacksmiths to experiment with a harder, more abundant metal, iron. The Age of Empires ended, giving rise to smaller, more agile city-states like the Phoenicians and eventually classical Athens. The Bronze Age collapse serves as a stark reminder. Civilization is a complex, delicate machine. No matter how advanced, how wealthy, or how powerful a society becomes,